Hello YouTube, this is Dazzathecameraman. Today is Thursday, November 10th, 2016, and here is the latest steaming pile of fear porn from Nibiru Planet X 2016. It's been a while since I've done a follow-up video on Nibiru Planet X 2016, but seeing his latest offering, I thought it was time to do an update. So let's take a look at the latest steaming pile of fear porn from Scott.
And once again, we're seeing objects near and around the moon. Also, in the photograph was what looked like a debris field, either moving past the moon or around the moon, and this red hue.
Wow, what amazing images of the moon, aren't they? So lovely, crisp and clear. Let's take a look at some decent images of the moon, shall we? Here are some pictures I took of the moon just a couple of nights ago using my Nikon P900 Super Zoom camera. Big difference, isn't there? And where is this debris field that he's talking about? I'm not seeing anything strange around the moon.
And then we received these photographs of a pink-purple sphere moving across sky cams from Asia through Eastern Europe, Western Europe, and through the entire United States, east to west. Finally, hours later, being seen on other sky cams. So, usually the naysayers, oh, that's a lens flare, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'll tell you what, that lens flare traveled 15,000 miles and was seen by 13 different sky cams.
Well now Scott, you know that you're lying through your teeth again, because you know very well that on one of our several Skype conversations I shared my screen with you and I showed you a series of image captures from these all-sky cameras, and I showed you exactly what this object is, and it is indeed a lens flare. Let's take another look at what I showed you during that Skype conversation. You will remember that I showed you images from several of these all-sky cameras, including these images from the Deacon ACT all-sky camera. Oh look, there's Nibiru in the sky, that bright pink one. Let's watch as it crosses the sky from west to east in the opposite direction to what the sun is travelling, which would of course be impossible. But now this is where it gets interesting as it heads towards the trees. It seems that Nibiru is much smaller than we ever thought. It's in fact behind the trees. Well, how about this one from Cades Observatory, Kingston, Australia? Again, we can see Nibiru is clearly in the sky. Let's see what happens when we run the images forward. Once again, we can see that Nibiru is crossing the sky from west to east, in the opposite direction to the sun crossing the sky. And now it's heading towards the horizon. Nibiru is about to set on the horizon. What happens when we keep going? Nibiru is now behind the trees. But wait, there's more. Nibiru is now inside the camera housing. Now let's just back this right up to earlier in the day before we started. We started over here. What happens if we go in the opposite direction? Well, again Nibiru is behind the trees, and again Nibiru is inside the camera housing. And what about this all-sky camera from the KWOS all-sky camera in Italy? This one is actually at night time. We've got the moon down here, and again we can see Nibiru up the top there. So let's run it forward and see what happens. And we can see Nibiru again travelling in the opposite direction to the moon, as it always seems to do. And wait for it, what happens when we get down the bottom? Well, Nibiru just keeps on going, and it seems to be in front of the building now. But let's keep going, and where is Nibiru now? It is down inside the camera housing. So yes folks, once again we're seeing a magnificent collection of lens flares in this latest steaming pile of fear porn from Nibiru Planet X 2016. Lens flares, that's right, you know those things that bright objects such as the sun or the moon create as they shine on the lens of a camera? And this is why we see Nibiru down inside the housing of the camera, because it is a lens flare.
And then we received this footage in today. Clearly showing a blue planet being videotaped right there before your eyes on the city streets in the daytime.
Come on, Scott, you're telling lies again. We've been over this and you know exactly what we're looking at in this video. You know that it's an internal lens reflection, and on my channel I have a playlist of videos which demonstrate and explain exactly what we're seeing and what causes these internal reflections. For example, let's take a look at this video called Planet X Nibiru 2015 by BBQSTU.
Here we go. He says basically block out the sun with your finger, and if it's lens flare, that dot there, which will always stay there, will disappear. You watch what happens when I do that. Here we come. Boom. The dot disappears. So, yeah, you was right. And if I go to the other side, see the dot there? Watch this. Fuck me. It appears on my finger. So yeah, it is actually lens flare, but no matter how I turn the phone, it will stay with it.
Well, what about this video, Nibiru Debunked by DAREJUMP Directing? Let's take a look at the video. So here we see a normal lens flare pointed out and the object that's supposed to be Nibiru next to the sun. See Nibiru there. And let's see what happens when he places his finger next to the sun, and there is Nibiru on his finger. And what happens when he blocks out the sun? Nibiru disappears. I'll put links to these videos in the description area as well as the playlist to the other videos, and you can check those out for yourself.
And since we're on the subject of the sky and space once again, we received a lot of photographs showing the sun simulator, lenses, clear as a bell in your photograph, and these are not natural objects.
So once again, Scott, you're lying again, because we've also discussed these black spot pictures in front of the sun, and I explained to you that this is the CMOS sensor in the camera overloading because of the intense brightness of the sun. I showed you examples of these, and let's take a look at those now. On my Facebook page in my albums, you'll see that back on November 11th, 2012, I posted this album, a collection of photos showing black dot images. Black dots apparently in front of the sun, and underneath this collection there are a number of links explaining what the black dot is. It's caused by the sensor overload in the camera's CMOS sensor producing a zero output, which is read as black. I'll put the link in the description area so that you can check these links out. There's also a couple of very good videos. One video here, Black Dot Sun Hoax, Nibiru Alanin, YU55 New Mayer Brown Dwarf Explained. And there is also a very good video by D5UNCR called Light Camera Action and the Black Dot. Let's have a look at this collection of black dot images. This is a favorite one from New Mayer Station that people love to look at. And again, you've got a nice lens flare out to the right of the building, which if it was in the sky people would be saying is Nibiru. Now the black spot that we see is actually the disk of the sun, and the rest of what we see there is actually the glare. That's the bright sunlight being refracted through the atmosphere. And here is the sun reflected in a window, and here is a light. I'm not sure if this is maybe a projector or a reflection. Somebody's camera has gone off, a flash. I'm not sure exactly what has caused this one, but again we see the black dot. And we've got a black dot in the flash of the camera. We've also got a black dot from the disk of the sun. And in this one at a concert, we've got a black dot on the spotlights in behind there, and black dots here, and these lights here. This one looks like it was taken off TV. We've got a whole bunch of black dots from these street lights going down the street there. Now there's two main types of image sensor in cameras. There is the CCD camera, which stands for Charge Coupled Device, and there is the CMOS sensor. Now these black dots only occur in the CMOS type sensors, they do not occur in the CCD sensors. And here are 3 photos that I uploaded on March 29th, 2013 showing the difference between what we think is the Sun with all of the glare and the actual size of the Sun when we remove all of the glare using a suitable solar filter. So here is what we think we're looking at when we see the Sun in the sky. It looks like this great big huge object, but when we use a suitable solar filter such as a welding lens, you can see that the disk of the Sun is actually quite a tiny spot. It is half of 1 degree across if we were to measure its angular size. Here is a side-by-side comparison of the 2 images. So we've got all of this glare as the bright sunlight filters through the atmosphere, but when we use a filter, that is the actual size of the disk of the Sun. Now I recommend that you go out and you buy a number 12 or darker welding lens, and you can use this to put over in front of your eyes and you can look at the Sun directly. Of course, you should never look at the Sun directly without using a solar filter such as this, otherwise you may damage your eyes. Now there's plenty more nonsense in this steaming pile of fear porn from Nibiru Planet X 2016 that I could go on with, but this video is already too long. Oh, and one final thing, Scott, from Nibiru Planet X 2016, if you're going to send me threats like this, you can be sure that I'm going to stay on your case. Not a good idea threatening me, Scott. Threats don't scare me off, and neither will yours. And before we go, let's take a look at the Nibiru Planet X 2016 Clock of Shame. This is a time since Scott pushed the panic button and claimed that Nibiru was seen from one end of the Earth to the other. It's now been 3 weeks, 2 days, 13 hours and 4 minutes since Scott pushed the panic button and announced that Nibiru was here. As always, to check out my Facebook discussion page, Voices of Reason to Explain X or VORTEX, you'll find a link in the description area. Thank you for watching.